Hey, what's up, everyone? Just wanted to re-record this show. This is not a live show, obviously. I ran some technical difficulties and just some scheduling stuff yesterday. This will not be the last show, at least for today. But just wanted to do something for Sunday show. We had some scheduling conflicts personally with myself and Pickles and Fedora. Fedora was, I guess, on there, but I missed him, right before I canceled the show. But without further ado, just wanted to go through some books that I don't know. The exercise I wanted to do today was to look at some key quote unquote books over the past few years, months, days, what have you, and see what the current market is, and actually look at eBay. We're not looking at any other websites other than eBay. That's the main source of where I get all my data. But yeah, just wanted to see what your guys' opinion was and to see what your thoughts were. If you're looking for any of these books in particular, and you see, kind of the cost or what the market's paying for them right now, it might be a good idea for you to get into those books. I don't know, but without further ado, let's get into it. I just want to thank all 605. We hit the 600 subscriber mark. We'll see how far we get, by the end of the year or, in the present future. But without further ado, here is your market report. I started off with Strange Academy Opania #1 yesterday. But yeah, Strange Academy #1, the Opania. I don't know. I think we've been talking about this book. Shout out again to my boy Richie. He actually reminded me about Strange Academy in general. I personally thought this was one of the most underrated. I would say most underrated. I would say probably one of my favorite books out of the pandemic. A lot of original characters came out. They were looking at kind of the younger side. I don't know if kids actually came into comic book stores or looked for this book online. I'm not part of Reddit. I'm not part of any of those kind of Gen Z apps that things kind of go crazy on. I don't have TikTok, but I didn't. I think the assumption was younger Gen Z kids would flock to this book. However, I didn't see any data that represented that. This Strange Academy 1 book, I remember last year was selling at 9.8 for around 800, and I actually kind of thought about it. Um, I didn't end up going for the book, but I did think about doing it. Currently, let's take a look at what this is going for. Let's see here, Strange Academy. Oops, Strange Academy 1, Opania. Okay, so there's some listings here. I mean, it's a $399 listing. 9.6 goes for $799. This 9.8, I just don't think you're going to get that. 2,000 is not even pandemic like cheap. 1249. Again, I think that's just too expensive for this market right now. 9.6s. I mean, I think whenever I see a 9.6, especially now with how CGC is grading, I'm not tempted to buy this Kraken and get it and bump it up, a point. But let's see what the last solds were going for. Okay, let's see here. A 9.4 went for $304. Yeah, right here. I mean, 9.6. I mean, this is back in March. It went for $255. I don't know what the actual best offer was, but I gotta assume that a 9.8 is gonna go for $750 to $800, maybe tops. If a 9.6 with bids on it's going for $355, especially in this economy, I can't imagine paying more than $150 to $200 for a raw copy. That might be a 9.8, but yeah, I feel like people are either. It's not like this is like I'm going to keep this in my collection for the next 10 years type of book. I feel like people are just, they have a set price in their head and they're not going to gravitate away from that. So there's your Strange Academy #1 Opania if you're looking for it. Let's go on to the next book. Silver Surfer #1. Everyone's trying to get that first female Silver Surfer, but I think this one's the one to buy. I've talked about it on past shows in the past week or so. However, I know it's the buy-in for this book's pretty high. However, when I'm looking at deals in the market, I can't really pay $50 for a spec book of a female character that may not survive one movie. I'd rather go for a Silver Age book, pay 3, 5, 6 times more than that other book, and hold it for the long term, which is kind of what we're shooting for in this show. I think the older books are going to hold value just because it's an older book. Um, it doesn't really go with the rare factor, quote unquote. I'm going to shoot for a 6.5 grade or higher, but let's take a look at the market. Let's see what's doing here. Let's see here. Okay, Silver Surfer 1. Oops. Okay, from 1968. I mean, this is a Silver Age book, so it's going to go for quite a bit, I would say. So very good, 476. Maybe offer like $400 for that book, 350. You might get it. There's a Silver Surfer, August 1968. That's actually not too bad. I don't know what the grade on that book is, but you got one for 175, 80, and 8 hours left. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. This one has 4 days left in a 5.0. Let's see what the 6.5s go for. Okay. So our restored 6.5. I wouldn't mind bidding like 400 to 450 for restored. I think eventually restores are going to come. There's going to be a market for restored books. I think people are going to not really mind too much about the purple label, and you may find kind of like a deal there. Well, let's see what the 6.5s go for. Okay, so 6.5 CBCS one for $800 versus I just looked at the Opania, and it's like, yeah, I'd rather have a 6.5 Silver Surfer #1. This one's going for $895, $750. I mean, that's still like a pretty good deal for a Silver Age book, investment wise, and I mean that covers a great cover for a Silver Age book. I remember as a kid, I'd look in stores for that book, and I just I fell in love with it. I wasn't even a big Silver Surfer fan. I arguably did like the comic book show, the cartoon, but yeah, Silver Surfer #1. If you're going to put your money to good use, especially in this market, and try and find deals, I think that's just a good bet, in my opinion. So next book, I went a little, obviously like a little bit lower. Spider-Punk #1 variant. I still like this book. I still like Spider-Punk as kind of a future kind of character. I think out of all the Spider-Verse characters, I liked him the most. He kind of was like off to the side. I always talk about Fedora talks about him as being like, the punk culture, and the artist of this book is very well renowned. The one tough thing about this particular comic book is the paper was horrible. This is like the days when Marvel, thank God they changed their paper people, because this book was just a beast to try and get at 9.8. I would probably go pretty low and cheap on this book to try and find a good deal. I personally wouldn't pay more than $100 for a 9.8 in this book, just because of just because there's other opportunities out there. But nonetheless, I would still be on the search for it if I could find a good deal. Maybe find a Sunday ending bid here, or auction. Let's take a look here. Spider-Punk #1, Okazaki. Share this tab instead. So let's look at the ended recently sold. So people were asking for around $200. I remember this book was going for like 150 to 200 in raw, which was just horrible. Here's a set right here, the 1 in 25, which did okay. We're looking at the 1 in 50 Okazaki, by the way. $130 for 2. I don't think I would pay that, just because of the risk. Wow, check out. Oh, that's not the Okazaki variant that we're looking at. Looks very similar though. Let's see here. So here's some listings of it. I mean, people are asking for around $200 or so, and I can't blame them for asking for that. Wow, this one is going for 118. That's a pretty good deal right there. I'm gonna mark that bad boy. Yeah, 300. You're not gonna get that, man. But he's probably asking for a best offer. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Okazaki variant's going for around 209.99, or that's what people are asking for. 350. You're not gonna get that. I'm sorry. But with no Spider-Punk, Into the Spider-Verse properties coming out anytime soon, this might be a long-term hold for a beloved character. It's not his first appearance, obviously. We've gone through that book many times, but I just think you're gonna have to get in. Do not buy this book raw. It's really hard to get 9.8. I don't know what the census numbers on this book are, but I assume they're pretty low in 9.8. But yeah, 1 in 50 variant CGC 9.8 goes for around $200. However, we did find a gem here. Let's see. I mean, 118 for CBCS. If you're a CGC snob, cross grade that bad boy over to CGC and get it going. All right, we're about 10 minutes in. If you guys are watching this video, this is kind of a supplement or a replacement for the live show that I tried doing on Sunday. Just didn't have it in me. I had kind of a long day, and the algorithm isn't really doing us justice. So I do appreciate everyone's support. Hit that like button, subscribe. We're now at 600 subscribers, trying to get to that elusive 1,000 subs. Hurting on hours here, so I do appreciate everyone watching the show all the way through. I'll try and do chapters on this as well to try and separate it out a little bit. So, The Last Ronin #1. Now, probably one of my favorite reads out of the past few years. I didn't really pick up TMNT, the comic book from IDW. There were some key issues here and there, but how cool of an opportunity for oops, I need to share the tab. How cool of an opportunity for the creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to be able to do a project that they've been wanting to do for such a very long time. It hits the pandemic. They sell a crap load of these books. I know it was like in the six figures as far as print run goes. There's about 1 million different covers. The best cover is the metal Aaron Bartlett cover. I mean, that book never came down. It was like it still sells for $1,000 raw. I would as far as the cover A, which this isn't necessarily the cover A. I think this is like a second print. I wouldn't pay $80. I wouldn't pay more than $80 for a 9.8. And I think the only reason I'd want a 9.8 is just to have it on my wall. I wouldn't really be banking on the option news, the news that the movie's going to come out. It's just a good story. If you are an investor in this book, I think you have to get a 9.9 or higher. And I mean, the prices that people are asking for on a 9.9 are just ridiculous. However, I did check out the census for the cover A, and there's only 124 9.9s. There's about 1,000 9.8s, and there's like 13 10.0s. I had Pickles ask me earlier this morning, like, why are there so many 9.9s? And if you guys had this book, it was very glossy. It's a magazine size kind of cover, but it was very well printed. The paper quality is very good in this book. It's still tough to get a 9.9, I know that for sure, but they're not as rare, I think, as people think they are. Let's take a look at eBay and see what they're selling for. I was looking at this earlier this morning. If you guys had checked out my my Instagram, I saw some interesting IG sales out there, but let's not get into that. Last Ronin. So let's see a CGC 9.8. Again, I'm not paying more than $100 for this book because the fact that there's so many different covers for this, like this is a reprint. I don't mind this $99.99 sale right here listing, but this one right here, I don't know. That's $324 is pretty tough. Wow. So The Last Ronin is going for $270 in 9.8. That's way higher than I think it should go for, but kudos to you, my friend. Yeah, I mean, I think $100 is the best bet, especially for the cover A. Because there's so many damn covers for this book. Well, let's take a look at and see what are the last solds going for. Okay, so Eric Hurd, I don't even know who that is. And there's a bunch of artists that did a bunch of covers for this. There's that Aaron Bartling exclusive with the coin. Pretty cool. It's metal too, by the way, if you guys didn't know. And there's a couple of 9.9s in this metal cover as well, which is even crazier. Let's see. I can't find a. Wow, that's crazy. #2 went for $180 or best offer. That was amazing. The covers on these books are pretty cool too. So 9.8 goes for a $279, $280. This was the retail 1 in 10. I think people gravitate more to the cover A, which is fascinating data there. This is a pretty cool cover. 9.8 of the Albedo sketch. Hope I said that right. Yeah, $300 for a 9.8. There's better ways to spend your money here. Let's look at the 9.9s. The last solds of the 9.9s. They're not showing up. Let's see here. Okay, so 9.9, $574. I think if you're gonna get a 9.9, I wouldn't pay more than 250, 300, just because there's 125 out there. This is if you're a 9.9 snob and you want Last Ronin, it might be advantageous for you to look at other covers too, because there's just so many of them. Wow, this one went for $80. That guy stole this one. He can flip that. 280 for a 9.8 on April 11th. So yeah, I mean, the option news is still a game. The market still likes the option news, I guess. Wow, I doubt that person got $400 for that, but that's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, if you got some, list them, because you could probably buy this back in 6 months. I don't even know when they're gonna start the show or start filming. It could take a while for that to happen. So, anyway, next we got Bloodborne at #1, the comic book. Now, again, Option News hit this book. I like this as a better spec play because of the print run. There's only 6,000 print runs of the cover A, and no one's selling this book. I never played the game before myself, but I heard it's a pretty cool comic book. It's a comic book video game. It's a video game comic book, so I like that as a spec play. It's by Titan. This book came out quite a long time ago. I can't remember the exact moment in time it came out, but let's look at the sales for this book here. Bloodborne. Oops. Okay. So yeah, I mean, a set went for $125.60. Look at this. This is Bloodborne: The Death of Sleep #1. I don't even know what that's like. I don't know that's like an offset series from like another Titan issuance. But this must be like another series after the original run came out. Oh, 2023. So yeah, these ones are a little bit newer. But the Bloodborne that we're talking about here is the one you want to get. And if you're selling books, like if you're trying to take advantage of the option news and you have like a whole run, just sell the whole run, because I feel that you're going to get more bang for your buck if you sell them as a run versus individually, because the market's seeking #1 and speculators are seeking the whole run. I just think that's a better deal there, or better advantage to the seller if you're selling the whole run if you do have it, because I doubt that I was trying to look for other like runs to see if there's other runs of the set, and well, let's take a look right now. I just couldn't find any at the time I was doing the list here. Okay, so look at this variant B cover from 2018. That's pretty cool. So yeah, this guy's got a whole run of it, or he's got 1 through 12. He doesn't even have the whole run, 1 through 16. 179.99. He's probably gonna get $100. He paid like $3 an issue for that. And here's 1 and 2. So then I remember back in the day, like when I was collecting comic books, the second issue was always sometimes supersede the first issue as far as collectability, because the notion was retailers, especially for like books like Witchblade and like The Darkness, they didn't order a lot of copies for #2 because they weren't sure of the favorability of the new comic. And so this guy's got that 90s kind of spec listing. That's pretty cool. Brings me back. I believe this is there's a couple variants in this run as well, or this comic book series as well. But yeah, Titan, they're definitely a smaller publisher. So the more news that comes out for this game, I think these books are going to blow up. And I want to say these are pretty easy and high grade if it's still the same paper that Titan uses today. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, maybe offer $30 for this book. And, with the success of Witcher and, some other video game comic books in kind of that same genre, this could blow up. It could be, who knows? Cyberpunk 2077. All right. Next book here. So all new Spider-Man #5. Now, there's a lot of discussion. I won't say controversy, but discussion about this book. It's the first mention of Miles as Spider-Man by his homie Genki. Last page, he calls him Spider-Man on the last page. There was a lot of talk, I think, after the show came out or after the movie came out, and this book got a lot of social media press. I had a 9.8 just sitting in my 9.8 lockers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to list it for $1 and see what happens. I ended up selling for $550 last year. I don't know if the timing was right. I don't know if just my auction, just people were seeking it out. But if that went for $550 last year during the lull of the comic book market, I wonder if I sold too early. I was okay with it. I got the book for like $15. This whole series is really tough at 9.8, so that probably helped out a little bit as well. But I know it's calmed down quite a bit. I don't know what the census count is for All New Spider-Man number 5, but let's take a look. Okay, so wow, this one's going for $20. It's in really bad shape there. A 9.6 is going for 195. Here's a raw that's going for $34.99, $54. The subscription, you could probably change that one, but all good. This All New Spider-Man number 1's going for, okay. So this one's going for, they're asking $500 for this book. I wonder if that's the guy that bought it from me. I doubt it, but and then 9.0s are going for like $50. Let's take a look at the last solds. You'd have to get a 9.8 in this book. I personally think it's too expensive. I'm gonna say don't buy this book. If you're in a 9.8, because you're just gonna, it's gonna be really hard to double your money on this book. But let's see, yeah, $324.99. That's $200 lower than the high that came out at. Wow, this must be an off sale because at 8.0, that's just too much. Yeah, $319. I think that's just like, it's really hard for like minor keys to really salivate and really have a push in the market if it's not a first appearance. So if you have this book, I would sell it. If you got a pretty good buy-in in it raw, or 9.6s, I probably try and like send this to like a grader or a presser and get them to press it. But yeah, obviously the market's gone down to 324. Maybe a 9.8 I'd pay maybe like, I mean, to me personally, it's like 175, the value of this book. So I probably hold off and say don't buy this book for right now. But it's a cool book, man. The whole series is a pretty fun read. I would say that if you are a Miles fan, do not buy these raw issues. Buy the collected issue or series. I think it's 1 through 30, I believe. I can't remember, but it's a pretty good series. So this isn't the actual Marvel must-haves, but I was put on Marvel must-haves by my good friend Ninth Wonder, homeboy Blue Green Artifacts, Tony. He's also talked about Marvel must-haves as well. What they are collections of a particular series. Now it's typically like 1 through 3, so they're typically short print. They are a reprint, so it's not a first print of the actual series, but they are reprints. And yeah, they're low print books. They're quite big, so they're really hard to get in high grade because I think people are passing them up, and the papers from like the early 2000s. This is the main one I would seek out. There's another one though as well that goes for pretty good money. But let's take a look. NYX. And people are asking a ton for these books. 1 through 3 NYX Marvel must-haves. I could probably just type in Marvel must-haves, but let's do this. Okay, so like, yeah, 1 through 3, $35. That's actually a really good deal. There's this one sold for, wow, there's only population 10 of these too. I wonder who sold this. Our good friend Blue Green Artifacts, and yeah, he has amazing stuff. Shoot him offers too. I mean, like, I think a lot of people see his page and they kind of like deflect it, but shoot him an offer. He'll wheel and deal. But yeah, he sold his 9.8, population 10. That's a great listing, by the way, Blue Green. None higher than population 10. And you can consider it a first appearance of NYX because the issue 3 is in there, but keep in mind this is a third print, or this is a reprint of 1 through 3. And so yeah, I mean, like, look at this, $9.49 for a 9.8. This is how I'd approach these books. And then here's so that one's probably the best one to have, but there's other ones as well. There's the SpiderMan one. Let's see. Here's a free Marvel must-haves. I probably wouldn't pay anything for that, but let's see. There's a Miles one too. There's a ton of them, but let's see. Miles Morales. Okay. Okay, let's see. There might be listings of it. Let's see. I'd scoop up that figure. That's 35. Never mind. Shoot, I can't find it. Okay, well, that tells you how hard it is to find this book. Marvel must-haves. SpiderMan. Huh. Let's try highest price. Okay. Well, I can't find any, but there is a Marvel must-haves all new Spider-Man 1 through 3. Now it's like the second appearance of Miles, but it's his first series. So it's kind of an alternative if you can't afford the first issue. You might as well go for the 1 through 3 Marvel must-haves. That's kind of my thought process here. Now, as far as price is concerned, try and hit the $40 to $50 mark, but take a look at them very closely because you want this as in a 9.6 or higher. You might make your money back in a 9.4, 9.2, but it might be pretty hard to do that. Like I said, these books are really tough at 9.8. If you can get one, like that's the gold standard right there for these Marvel must-have books. It's 1 through 3, or there are 3 issues in each one. So definitely go for the NYX one for sure. The Spider-Man one. There's a couple other ones. I guess I'll leave that up to collectors, but yeah, kind of a cool, I guess, reprint, but still a pretty cool thing to have as well. All right, back to the slides. So My Little Pony number 14 variant. No, do not get this book. Do not try and flip it. It is the worst book to have if you're a speculator. Next slide. Real quick, we're about 30 minutes into the show. Again, I just want to thank everyone for your support. We crossed 600. I was going to do a giveaway show last weekend, but a lot of things just came up in my day, and it was just, I was exhausted. I don't know if you could tell by the live stream, but I do appreciate everyone's support. I'll tell you what, if we get this video past 130 views in 2 weeks and we hit over 2,400 hours, I promise to give away a graded CGC video game. I will do it. 2 weeks to get this, to get not only the show up to 2,400 hours, but to also get us past 130 views. I will do it. As a thank you to all the supporters out there that have helped myself, Pickles, and Fedora grow this channel, the Ronin 5 show. That really picked up last week, you know, with some of the new stuff we had as far as spec value is concerned. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone for your support, and moving on to the next comic book here. So Witchblade 10, the variant gold. I wanted to also put out just like a bunch of other, you know, female heroines out there. With the Evangeline, you know, news coming out. Now, I wouldn't go out and buy like 50 copies of this book, but I've seen this book actually in dollar bins or back issue bins in general for like $10, or dollar bins for $1. Now, this is incredibly hard to get in 9.8. If you don't know, this is the first appearance of the Darkness and one of the rarer Witchblade books in general. Witchblade had a TNT, I think, type show, live action, and it was pretty bad. I think with modern technology and with studios trying to get that 25 to 45-year-old or 50-year-old, I guess at this point, demographic male, they may look to these properties because they're easier to acquire. They're less cheap or less expensive to acquire. And there's a cult following that could boom, potentially. Basically the game has changed quite a bit. I could see Apple like looking into acquiring maybe a Top Cow, or just looking into some type of universe. And this Witchblade Darkness universe really blew up back in the day. It was a perfect crossover for Top Cow. Arguably, I have this book in 9.8 in the gold version. There wasn't that many copies of the gold version put out. This is back in the day when like collecting kind of went crazy, but they didn't issue a bunch of the gold variants. Now, the gold variant has the darkness across the top. I have this triple signed. Unfortunately, I don't have it by Michael Turner, but that's okay. I love this book for my PC regardless, but I couldn't find any good listings for the gold version. Witchblade number 10. It's not Darkness number 10. It's Witchblade number 10, the gold version. Let's see here. But it does go for a pretty penny. If you can find a good cover though and get this signed, it might not be a bad idea. 270. I'd probably maybe do like 150 or like offer, just because it's kind of a risky kind of book to get. But here's a gold variant for $100. I'm not mad at that. Let's see who this is autographed by. Looks like it's Bait. Or Silvestri, Bait, Steve Furchow. Okay, so that's probably my triple signed. Get this sent off to CGC and get them to authenticate the autograph. But yeah, there's not a ton of these books for sale. But let's see what the last. So 60. I mean, I typed in and there's only 63 that show up. So I mean, this one went for $43. That's a pretty nice copy there from what I can see. 71, 79. Triple sign went for 150. Now this is a very like tough kind of spec. But man, if Witchblade, who knows? Or if Witchblade gets optioned, there won't be that much focus on this book. But if it's successful, they're gonna bring the darkness. They would have to. Any studio that comes and here's the other thing. Garth Ennis wrote The Darkness. So a lot of Garth Ennis properties have come to the big screen. And that was kind of my deep spec about, well, if The Boys has done so well, then why the heck not would they not look at other Garth Ennis older properties that are easily obtained? We'll see. That's kind of my deep spec for this slideshow, but I'm also a little, I didn't even, my bad. So yeah, sorry, this is 142.50. These are the solds for the Witchblade 10. But yeah, I could not find any online. But yeah, that's kind of my deep spec for the list today. And I'm a little biased towards it because Darkness was like my favorite book growing up. Star Wars: The Clone Wars #1. Now, I'm going to say this is the modern grail for Star Wars, like Gen Z, Gen Millennial, like younger and millennial generations. I think this is the modern grail to have. Now, I personally am not hunting for this book because I think it's too hard to flip. But if you're a Star Wars collector that's in your 30s or late 20s, this is like your Star Wars #1 to you, Gen Xers. But yeah, like I said, I'm not personally invested in this book, but I love the cover of this book. It's kind of the premonition for like what's to come. The Ahsoka and Luke kind of looking into the sky with, I don't know, those are Star Destroyers like in the balance, and I kind of like the painting. It's not really like comic book art, but to me it looks more like a painting in general. But I think it's a great grail to have. It's a great cover. Let's take a look at the one. So yeah, that's Star Wars. And shout out to Richie's channel. I was on there Monday and they were talking about this book, and they were kind of talking what we were talking about, like what's a good price point for this one specifically. But man, $2,500, maybe I'm into that, but that's $7,000 sale. Wow, that's a lot. But yeah, and I think this is healthy for this book. I wouldn't pay, and for this book, I wouldn't pay more than $250 raw because I'd want to get this in a high grade, obviously, because it's a modern book. I wouldn't mind the #2 either. I like that cover too. But yeah, $335 for an 8.0, like that's a tough one for me. And this is the one I think Richie highlighted last week. Let's see what the listings are going for though. All right. 162 with a couple days left. I wouldn't mind bidding 200 for that. If I had some nice binoculars on and could take a look at it a little closer. $68 for 7.5. I mean, at that point, you might as well just buy 7.5. Let's see. This guy wants an absurd price. He wants triple what it's selling for. And okay, so that's kind of the market, right? Like these guys are going to have to come down to like 1100 for a 9.8, and I think that's fair, depending on what the seller came in at. 1549, like there just has to a lot has to happen as far as live action, cartoon, what have you, video game, because she's already showed up. So if you're buying this for like 1100, you're probably going to hold on to it for a long time. I'm personally not buying this book just because I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I'll be a little bit more picky on stuff. It's just really expensive for other books. I'd rather have a video game for that much. I just think there's more potential versus this book in general in Star Wars. I think the floor is kind of set for this book for right now. This one I thought was just a fun one to like take a look at. I 100% am not paying for this book, but this Hulk run by Donny Cates was fascinating. It's a fascinating dive into what the Hulk could be and how stupid it could have been. I remember there's a couple books that I think myself and Fedora were kind of going back and forth with on the 1 in 500s. Like they were really cool. Like covers, but they were just trying to sell. Marvel was just trying to sell, like take advantage of Donny Cates, like Fathom, and they were getting it, man. I mean, I saw these Hulk 1 in 500s from this Donny Cates runs going for like $300 to $400, and I'll be honest, man, I thought about trying to buy one and flip it, but like a $400 buy-in for an FOC book, that's just too much. But I'm curious to see what this one goes for. Let's take a look. Hulk 500. And Stegman did a great job on these. I mean, the covers were awesome. The series was horrible from 2022. So this guy's asking $600 for it. Oh man, good luck to you, bro. 9.6 going for 400. I don't think so. I just can't justify it. Okay, here you go, 9.8. And see, no one's buying this for $200. So the 1 in 500, like, unless it's just an amazing cover and story. See, even the cover is pretty cool, but like, yeah, I never buy them. I mean, unless you just have to have it, or wait like 6 months or a year or 2 years, and you'll save. I mean, this one for $184.99, $200 for this bad boy, $79 for 1 in 500. Man, I mean, like, yeah, that's just crazy. 9.6 went for $98. I wouldn't be mad at that. Try and press clean it, sell for 200. Actually, no, I probably wouldn't even do that because you only get almost $200 for it. So I just thought this was a fun kind of like, I use this one as an example of like, okay, 1 in 500s don't necessarily mean it's a rare book. This series sucked, so that really didn't help the situation with this 1 in 500. But you have to have a series that, obviously it's not low print run because it's a 1 in 500, but you have to have a series that is just kicking on all cylinders, has a first appearance, a beloved artist, which Stegman, I'm not saying Stegman isn't a beloved artist, but you have to have like a beloved artist. But yeah, just don't buy 1 in 500s in general, but definitely don't buy this one for sure. Captain Carter #1, the 1 in 25 variant. I've gone back and forth, whatever. Oh my gosh, you got a show. Big freaking deal. I wouldn't pay $25 for this piece of shit. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't have any respect for this book. It's, I think I did this on a Whatnot, like, mystery box giveaway. And I was trying to be pretty, like, transparent about the book. Like, I made like $75 on this book, and like, I didn't look back. At that point, I left Whatnot. This was like this and Tosin were like it for me. I was like, this isn't gonna last. At least for like the small seller. Big seller is cool. But I can't get behind this book. I can't get behind the character. There's a controversial quote unquote Exiles 3 appearance, and I know she's not named as Captain Carter, but the market says that Exiles 3 is worth more than this book. I'm gonna go with the market. Captain Carter. let's see, 30 bucks. I want him 108. I mean, this was selling raw for 108 back in 2022. Even 2023, I saw it selling for like 75 to 100 bucks. 9.6, I do not believe that. Oh gosh. 40 bucks, 33, 102. I mean, people are getting shelled on this book, man. I'm not even gonna look at the sold listings. That's just not, yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. There you go, man. If you're still specking on Captain Carter, what if? Good luck to you. That's all I gotta say. Oops. I did not share. Oops, I did not share. Okay, sorry. Technical difficulties, peeps here. Okay, so again, Captain Carter number 1 in 25. I mean, they're going for like 30 bucks to 108 for 9.8. That's too much money in this market. I mean, that was like a couple weeks ago. I don't know what else is going to push this book higher. I mean, if she gets a show, she's a D-list character. And that's and regardless of like whatever, no one's crazed about Captain Carter. Like, it's just doesn't do it for me. Okay, Edge of the Spider-Verse 2. Oh, I guess I didn't have the slide up. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Edge of the Spider-Verse number 2, the first appearance of SpiderGwen. I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say I'm not buying this book. It kind of fits in the Ahsoka realm for me, where she's a really great character. She's an A-list character. Cosplay, all that. I just don't know what else is going to push her, because I don't like, she's not really doing a lot in the comic book. I mean, in the Miles book right now, if you're reading Miles, it's the Vulture's like daughter or granddaughter is like the central female focus in the comic book. So you're not getting anything great out of that. I don't know how you'd bring more readers to focus more on SpiderGwen, but let's take a look at the market and see what the market says. And I'm going for the Greg Land variant. Oops. Okay, let's do land. Okay. There's a Mexican foil of this book, and I just always think that kind of lessens the value of it. So 9.6 is going for, I mean, it's a strong book. It's pretty liquid. I just think that's a lot of money to spend $2,000 on a character that's not like the central focus. Okay, yeah. See, like, sorry, I didn't go for I didn't share the tab. So like, anyway, the previous tab was showing 9.6 is going for like $2,000 almost. There was no 9.8 sales because I just think people are just asking a lot of money for this book. But the fact that there's a reprint of this book, I mean, 2,000 bucks is a lot of money. I'm just gonna stay away from it in general. Yeah. All right, so next book, and this is gonna be the last slide of the show. 44 minutes, so a pretty quick show today. Obviously, I don't got the other peeps with me as well, but yeah. Again, I'll do a special giveaway if we get, not so much subscribers, but people watching the show. Need 130 in the next week or so, and I'll give away a CGC graded video game. And yeah, we just got to get that 2,400, 2,500 hours and keep the show going. We're almost monetized. These books are PC books for me. This is kind of what I'm looking out for. The Uncanny X-Force 20s goes through quite a bit. I want that Witchblade 25 Speckle variant in a 9.8. I probably pay $100. And then my spec magazine of the week is this America magazine from 1994. Now, I bought this magazine for like $20. You guys know how much I love video games and how I'm kind of focusing more on video games more than comic books lately. We may do a magazine show eventually with some of the people that watch this show, but I'm just gonna try and find. And I showed this to my good friend Fedora, and he was shocked. Now, this is the first appearance of the Sega CD version of this game. Let me see here. I don't know if I can find it. Oh, I'll read it off. So it's a section by Konami, right? So it's right here. And this game is made by Konami. Can't really justify mentioning Contra Hard Corps for the Genesis, since it has no connection to anime whatsoever. Besides the fact that it is also great beyond description. Oops, I just did. Anyway, Snatcher for the Sega CD is the title to look out for, unless you are a connoisseur of grainy digitized video. This is an almost direct conversion of the famous PC Engine CD adventure game. The only difference between being that the names have been anglicized, despite the fact that the action is supposedly taking place in Tokyo. Konami US promises voice acting on par with the Japanese original. What was there did look promising. Snatch up a copy for yourself sometime in late October. Now, this comic book or this magazine came out in August of '94. So, Snatcher came out in 1988 in Japan. There is a Japanese mention of it in an article. However, this, per my research and for whatever resources I've used, this is the first mention, very small article, of Snatcher. Will it be something later down the road? I don't know. But for $20, I said screw it. Might as well get a copy of Animerica, August 1994. It is the first mention of Snatcher. Very small article. There's no advertisement. The magazine collectability market is very immature. There's first and foremost, like the focus on magazines is the cover. So a lot of covers of like first Shohei Ohtani, first Albert Pujols, first Selena, first Kate Moss go for quite a bit of money. The first mentions, though, are a little bit harder to find. You have to do a lot of research online and look at different resources. But my goal kind of going forward with the show and my collecting prowess is I want to start a directory for magazines. It's just to educate people on the market. And that's maybe the future of the show. I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like Animerica. My focus is going to be on video games, obviously. I found the first appearance of Metal Gear Solid for PS1. So it's going to be very focused on like particular games, not so much like first Mario, but the first game. So to be specific, maybe CGC can get on board and maybe they can grow their market as well, but we'll see. Anyway, about less than an hour show. Obviously, it didn't go for as long as we usually do just because the boys are not here, but I want to do something for the Sunday show. Again, if we get this within 10 days, 2 weeks, up to 130 to 40 views, and we get our views up to 2,400 in the next month, I'll do a pretty substantial CGC video game giveaway. I do appreciate everyone's support. We're past 600 subscribers, so I guess we're doing something right. You all have a great week. We'll possibly see you later this week on a magazine show, and possibly we'll see you on Sunday. Y'all take care. Have a great week.